Alright guys, time to go back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and the plot has thickened somewhat with regard to this whole OpTic server drama with the FaZe sweep that happened last night. Incredible scenes that went down on the timeline. Envoy has gone into some more detail here as exactly what's going on, and very interesting discussion to be honest, all things considered. The fact that this supposedly was on Envoy to sort out, not on the CDL or the rest of his team. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, a couple of other things to talk about. As Macat says right here, for those who have been living under a rock or just don't know COD that deep, I retired from competing at the start of the year, and this weekend decided to take a step in the coaching direction with Easter. Excited to see what I can bring to the table. So call from a European Call of Duty legend, see what he can bring to this team in a coaching role. This I thought was interesting from Turtle as well, with regard to how important is winning first series, or the first game of the series. League average for winning game 1 and winning the series is about 63%. Toronto Ultra the best at it. This is this is actually before this past week, so Ultra are now even better at it. I believe they'll be 11 in now, but 10 right here, given their victory here up against the Paris Legion. Did think it was kind of interesting in the sense that OpTic here are actually very solid if they win game 1. If they win game 1, they go on to win the series 8 out of 10 times so far this season. But as of late, it's winning those game 1s that have certainly been the issue. Right? Of course, Ravens down here, they won 5 game 1s and failed to win the series a couple of times, even though it did change yesterday when they beat the Seattle Surge by winning game 1 and then going on to win the series. So fair play, they may be turning it around somewhat, but as you can see, OpTic right up here at the top, at least in terms of game 1 wins, converting those into series victories, but it's clearly been the game 1 which has been the issue, and some of those hard points lately have not been pretty that OpTic have been on the receiving end of, and maybe part of the reason for that yesterday was this whole server discussion that we did indeed have. This was kind of cool as well, speaking of hard points, that around 11 stats points out, talking about the New York subliners Garrison hard point right now. They seem to be just so good on this early rotation to P1 when they can kind of get the spawn trap right. If you're over at P5, you can spawn trap them all the way at the back where where the guys are looking right now, towards back here where Clayster's looking. You can spawn trap them back there and then hold down P1 for a lot of time and then get the rotation to P2 as well, and sit kind of holding it from the front, letting those guys spawn in the back once again and then getting the rotation to P3. And this was something that Dallas Empire with Clayster was so good at last year. You guys might remember on the Azir Cave at the World Championship, they pulled out this kind of innovative strat where they would effectively give up a load of time over towards the second last hill, rotate very early to P5, and then just hold that spawn for the next 2 hills to get P1 time and contest it, and then get P2 time before the rotation back to P3. So if you guys remember that, they were really good at that. They kind of brought out that strat towards the World Championship, which did numbers for them on Azir Cave. And right here you can see again that New York executing very effectively. They did this up against Thieves when they it was a kind of a tight game early on. Then they execute the spawn trap P5 to P1, then hold P2 from the back, and then go all the way to P3 again and get all that time. Great stuff from the subliners, and they have been dominant in that game. I don't know, maybe OpTic need to have a look at their VODs and see exactly what they could do different. This kind of we did discuss yesterday, the fact that Method was calling out some of these lazy pro players, and Slasher says it as well. And interestingly, Slasher has been a lot more active on the timeline these last couple of days, so you'd have to wonder whether something's going on with him getting onto some other team. Just as he says, no, what are all the COD pros doing nowadays? I'm so confused. Not a single 8. I'm getting sick of league play / shooting bots, as Method says. People on the verge of not making champs and are just getting off after scrim. So we could talk about that towards the end of the video, certainly. But interesting, Slash has been a lot of, very active on the timeline as of late. I do have to think whether he's exactly in some conversations with some teams to get off the bench of the Los Angeles Thieves. So let's dive into this situation. If you guys missed some of the drama that went down last night after they lost to Atlanta FaZe, this was the initial tweet that came out from Formal. Obviously we got smoked. Doesn't help we all played on Atlanta host. All of us on 33 ping. Theirs were 11. Now typically when a Texas-based team plays Atlanta, they play on a St. Louis server. And for whatever reason, as we're going to dive into, that was not the case. Now Envoy kind of comes out into more detail and kind of describes exactly why that wasn't the case, what more he could have done regarding this situation, but still somewhat strange to me that it seems to be on Envoy to actually make this whole situation work and go away. And as Dashy says, few tweets from him at 9 ping for sure, playing up against aBeZy on 9 ping, obviously not a pretty fashion, but at the same time, if you're challenging aBeZy 1 by 1 and it gets a 3-piece, that's probably less to do with the ping and more how you're playing and working together as a team. And just some other tweets as well. Can't believe we played a team on their quad host for a chance to make winners, all because they sent the wrong email. And this is of course what Envoy was getting into. Got finessed in broad daylight. That ref is probably daffing up back to the boys throwing the FaZe up right now. I thought I'd bring this up on screen again because certainly an entertaining tweet from Dashy. So this is what Envoy says. Just got told the CDL host selected the wrong server in our match because of a typo in an email. We discussed what potentially this typo could have been, ATL, STL. We still don't really know exactly what has gone on along these lines, but what we do know is that I believe that the OpTic guys knew that this was a potential about a week ago. They received the email, it said on there, I think think they were going to be playing on the Atlanta server. And I think Envoy maybe, well, tried to go back and make something happen, but their referee was not available for the last couple of days, and therefore they weren't able to get through to the CDL. Now, as Envoy says, like, you could have tried harder to push this through, and you do have to wonder, because a lot of the pros and coaches, for example, TJHaLy was like, look, OpTic must have had a say in this. There's no way the CDL are just going to chuck them on that server. Now, apparently they chucked them on the server by mistake, but they still had some time, maybe, the OpTic guys, to actually go back and, well, talk to the referee and get this whole situation figured out. As Envoy says, we connect horrible to the St. Louis server, so I accepted fate and hoped the CDL and their IT team would make the correct decision. Doesn't help our only CDL rep has been off since Thursday. I could have done more for sure, but how faded the host gotta be to pick Atlanta with Atlanta in the lobby. So supposedly there was a typo in the email a few days ago as well. Clayster says, tried to warn you in the rep chat 3 days ago, brother, that this was going to happen, because maybe there was an email that went around and the email said by accident that it was going to be on the Atlanta server as opposed to the St. Louis one, and then well, maybe the OpTic tried to get back at them, but their rep wasn't there, and maybe they couldn't get through, and well, as Envoy says, he kind of accepted fate and hoped the CDL would figure it out, as opposed to getting this situation dealt with. And we'll look at some of the clips of what he has to say yesterday, because as Jacob says, look, we get the email before the week even begins. I heard that OpTic agreed to Atlanta because they hated St. Louis that much, and then I also heard that someone from OpTic asked the league about it, but didn't ask for a switch or a follow-up, so I don't know what is true anymore. So I'll show a couple of clips right here from, well, Envoy on the flank last night explaining the situation, talking about the fact that, like, he could have done more in this situation, but you do have to wonder, why is there, well, no one else on his team taking responsibility for this situation?
Yeah, we played on the Atlanta server, and the thing is we ping the exact same to Atlanta as we ping to St. Louis. Like, if you look at a map, we're pretty much the exact same, ways away, and you can't really tell by just being in the match. But I can look at, Atlanta's pings or whoever we're playing against, and obviously theirs are going to be lower if they're on Atlanta compared to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, from what you just said, so you guys did know, and basically you intentionally OpTic said, we don't care, let's play in Atlanta. It sounds like a mistake from your guys' end that you thought would get resolved, but didn't.
I definitely should have done more. I should have done more. I should have went out my way and, made sure it was right. It was going to be right when we came to the match, and I didn't, and that's on me. But
which is why I said
that should be like triple checked in the first place before it gets sent out.
But on you completely either. Like, you have teammates and you have a staff, and like, I think to put it on you solely, whether you saw the email or not, like, I don't think it's fair for you to take the sole blame for this. I think that's horse.
Just to add on, I was just saying, that's why I feel like it's just problems on both ends. I mean, there is clearly problems on the league side because it was wrong. The server was just wrong. And on the other side, there was problems with OpTic Chicago because I think you guys learned from this now. I think for some reason, Dylan, I feel like you're going to be checking that email list every single time now.
I definitely will.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, what
because
sucks is this will never happen again, but it happened in such
regardless of what was going on with the server selection.
Yeah,
and no one's disagreeing with you. Sorry.
I think we have Dashy coming in with a tweet at BenJNasim. Past that, I think he's trying to say that you're smoking on the papaya a little bit and you might be faded. What are your thoughts?
Maybe they
faded
should.
To what? Is he saying to?
Maybe they should stop roasting me and work on their teamwork. I don't know what to say.
Zane, can you believe this?
The bad guy. I don't want to be the bad guy here, but like.
So a couple of spicy tweets at the very least, and I did want to dive into this in more detail regarding this Envoy stuff, because he seems to be beating himself up about it a fair bit, and I don't necessarily think he should be, right? Like, he's the in-game leader for this team, yes, but should it necessarily be his responsibility to be in discussions with the league and with the CDL rep and all this stuff to figure out what's going on here? And of course, yeah, it's a mistake from the CDL in this email, but I guess if you're OpTic, you've got to take some responsibility to get this fixed and get it sorted out, because as Clayster says, warned you 3 days ago that this type of stuff might have happened, and maybe they didn't do exactly what they should have done to get this type of stuff dealt with, and now of course they lose, and now the complaints come out, and understandably so. The CDL made a mistake, but did OpTic do their utmost to correct it? Maybe not. And I mean, from my perspective, if there's one person on a team that should be taking charge of this kind of stuff, it'd be the coach of the team, right? And my understanding is that Sender's a very solid coach. He definitely knows what he's doing and has some good input on the game, but surely if it were me, and if I was the OpTic guys right now, I might be reconsidering exactly how I lay out my team, in the sense that if Envoy is going to have to be our player, our in-game leader, and also deal with all this server and the gentleman's agreement stuff that might be going on, and all this discussion with the CDL, that's somewhat strange to me. I think that when we saw Jacob commenting on it right from the Los Angeles Thieves side, I would very well imagine that he deals with this type of stuff for their team, so his players don't even have to worry about it, and it's the coach that takes charge of, communicating with the CDL and figuring out the server stuff. So somewhat strange to me. And another couple of clips, actually, I'm pretty sure I will have just played on screen for you guys from, Ben talking about the whole Dashy situation, because Dashy tweeted this out. Ben, Jane, to see past that, because I'm pretty sure Ben said on the flank that, look, you guys would have lost regardless of the server stuff. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if your fundamentals aren't there, if you aren't playing as a team correctly, and that we did once again see that yesterday. Probably the server stuff doesn't make an awful amount of difference. Of course, it does make some difference, there's no doubt about it. Playing Atlanta on their quad Texas host is not exactly ideal, but let's not forget, OpTic had to win that series yesterday 3-1 or better to qualify for the winners bracket. I think even if you played on the other way around, I'm still not sure that OpTic win that series 3-1 with the way their respawn is looking at the present time. So very interesting stuff, all things considered. Maybe this will be where it ends for the time being. Maybe we'll get some more detail coming out from the CDL or from some of the OpTic guys themselves. But yeah, very surprising to me that this whole situation has transpired as it has. And just wanted to look real quick, the fact that, well, we saw the Slasher and Methods talking a couple of minutes ago, the fact that, like, some of these players, some of these teams on the verge of not qualifying for champs, and what are they really doing about it? You've got Vivid right now sitting on the bench, probably not too happy about this whole situation. Now he can't even compete in the CDL. And I thought this is interesting from Crone as well, the most questionable roster move of all time, because there's been a lot of discussion with regard to the Dallas Empire move that FeLo came in, but fair play. Of course, they did get a good result last night up against the Minnesota Rokkr. How will they fare up against Atlanta FaZe at the major? That is certainly going to be tough to say. And just well, Lyman says Octane leaving LG for OpTic. That LG team was nasty back in, well, whichever you can't blame Octane. But as Jacob says, screw you for still leaving. But that NB team was mega chalked. Of course, this is the team of JCap, Slasher, John, and Apathy, of course, from back in a Black Ops 3 World Championship that they won, and then through to the Infinite Warfare World Championship. And just saying, like, that team was chalked regardless, even before the World Championship did come into play. And this is well from attached, the best COD event of all time is, as Jacob says, Advanced Warfare Champs, because we won it together. I would certainly put my vote on, well, CDL London 2019 has got to be up there for one of the craziest events of all time, at least in terms of the crowd and an enjoyable experience to extend. Anaheim 2019 also deserves mention, and Birmingham 2018, 2 events or 3 events of the, well, pre-CDL era that I actually attended. But intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out YouTube algorithm. Like, you enjoyed this content, other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.